Hello and welcome. Today, we are diving into a topic that is, let's be honest, a huge deal for researchers everywhere: getting published in a high-impact Scopus journal. It can feel like this mysterious, almost impossible process, like trying to get into a locked room. Well, consider us your locksmith, because we're about to hand you the keys. Let's get right into it.
This quote, wow, it just gets right to the heart of it, doesn't it? You can do this absolutely groundbreaking research, pour years of your life into a study, but if it doesn't get seen by the right people, by your peers, it's like it's locked away. That's the exact frustration we're here to solve. Your work deserves to be out in the world, and getting it properly indexed is how you do it. So, why do we hear so much about Scopus? Why is it such a big deal? Well, it's pretty simple. Getting that Scopus stamp of approval is the gold standard in the academic world. It's a signal that your work is credible. It gives your research global visibility. And, let's be real, it's a massive deal for your career, for things like promotions and getting funding. It basically proves your research has been seriously vetted for quality.
But there's this locked door that holds so many researchers back. And you know what it's built out of? Myths. Just common misconceptions that can be so discouraging, especially if you're just starting out. So today, we're going to take a hammer to that door. We are going to bust the 7 biggest myths about publishing in Scopus journals.
Okay, first up, the big one, the one I hear all the time. Do you have to be this seasoned, super experienced professor to even think about getting into a Scopus journal? Is it some kind of exclusive club for the academic elite?
That is a huge myth. Absolutely not. Let me be clear. Journals are looking for a high-quality, original research. They couldn't care less about your title. They care about the substance of your work. New authors, early career researchers, they get published all the time.
All right, let's talk about money. Is there some kind of secret backdoor pay-to-play option where you can just write a big check and poof, your paper gets accepted? Nope. Another major myth. Money can't and shouldn't replace quality. Legitimate Scopus journals are evaluating the originality of your ideas, the strength of your methods, and what you're actually contributing to the conversation. Quality is the only currency that truly matters here.
What about your subject matter? I mean, if your research is solid, can you just send it off to any Scopus journal and assume they'll take a look?
No, you really can't. Every single journal has a very specific scope, a niche they focus on. They exist to serve a particular academic community, and they only publish research that's relevant to that audience. Submitting your paper to the wrong journal is probably the fastest way to get a rejection letter.
Okay, so let's say your data is revolutionary, a total game changer. Does it really matter if your grammar is a little shaky or the structure of the paper is a bit confusing?
Oh, it matters. It matters a great deal. You can have the best research in the world, and it can absolutely get rejected for poor writing. Clear, well-structured, grammatically correct writing isn't just about looking good. It shows professionalism, it shows respect for the reviewer's time, and it signals that your whole approach is rigorous.
Okay, you did it. You're in. Your paper is published in a Scopus journal. So does that mean it's now permanently safe and sound in the halls of academic greatness?
Not necessarily, and this is something a lot of people don't realize. Scopus is constantly reviewing the journals it indexes. If a journal's quality starts to slip, or if ethical questions pop up, that journal can be delisted, and that directly threatens the visibility and the long-term impact of your paper.
We've all heard the horror stories about peer review, right? The dreaded reviewer number 2? Are reviewers just out to get you, rejecting papers for some personal, biased reason?
Look, getting a rejection is a normal part of this process. It happens to everyone, but it's very rarely because of some simple bias. Most of the time, rejections are based on really concrete things: a weak methodology, a hint of plagiarism, a lack of originality, or just not following the journal's guidelines.
And for our 7th and final myth, what about speed? Can you submit your masterpiece and expect to get an acceptance letter back in just a few days?
Not if it's a journal you'd actually want to be published in. A thorough, proper peer review process takes time. We're talking weeks and often even months. In fact, if a journal promises you an unusually quick turnaround, that should set off some serious alarm bells. It's a major red flag for a predatory, low-quality publication.
So there we have it. We've busted the myths, we've cleared away all that fog and confusion. Now it's time to make the pivot, to move from these misconceptions to the clear, actionable reality of what it really takes to succeed. This is where we find the key to that locked door.
So here it is, side by side, the myths versus the reality.
And you start to see a pattern, right? Success isn't about how senior you are, it's about the quality of your work. It isn't about paying your way in, it's about originality. It's not about being fast, it's about being thorough and rigorous. The big takeaway here is this: getting published isn't some secret game. It's about doing high-quality work and then presenting it with care and discipline.
Now, of course, just knowing the reality doesn't suddenly make it easy. New authors face a ton of hurdles, everything from just picking the right journal to figuring out how to handle tough reviewer feedback. But here's how I want you to see this list. Don't see these as stop signs, see them as the normal expected steps on the path. Everyone, and I mean everyone, goes through this.
And all of that brings us to our final section, your practical, actionable toolkit for success. We've unlocked the door, and now I'm going to hand you the tools you need to walk right through it with total confidence.
This right here is your 4-step roadmap to getting published. So let's just walk through it. It all starts with step 1, your foundation. Your work has to have original insights that fill a real gap in your field. Don't just rehash what's already out there. You have to add something new to the conversation. Okay, once that idea is solid, you move to step 2, presentation. This part is completely non-negotiable. You have to follow every single one of the journal's guidelines, to the letter. And you need to polish your grammar until it is flawless. From there, you build credibility in step 3. Use proper referencing with reliable sources to show your work is built on solid ground. Then, craft a really powerful, concise abstract with strong keywords. That's how people will find your work. And finally, step 4 is all about leveraging the community. Treat reviewer feedback not as an attack, but as free expert advice to make your paper even stronger. And don't be afraid to collaborate with mentors. You follow these 4 steps, and you have your path.
So we'll leave you with this one question to really think about. Because after everything we've talked about today, it all comes back to that core idea of original contribution. So look at your own work, think about your field, and really ask yourself, what's the first gap that my research is going to fill? Answering that question, that's your first real step from myth to masterpiece.